Welcome back to Up Front and our conversation with the candidates for Wisconsin Supreme Court. We're talking now with Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Rebecca Dallet. She has been a judge for 10 years. She was a prosecutor in Milwaukee County for 11 years before her election to the bench. She is a graduate of Case Western Reserve University Law School. Judge Dallet, good to see you again. Thanks for being on the program.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Well, you have said throughout the campaign that the Supreme Court in the state of Wisconsin is broken. So I want to ask you about that. What do you mean by broken? Or is this simply a matter that you don't like the fact there's a conservative majority on the court?
Well, I can give you an example of how it's broken, and that is the special interest money that has poured into these judicial races to buy justice or a justice. And in the John Doe case, that special interest money appeared in the case as a party in the case, and it had spent $2.25 million on Justice Gableman's campaign. Justice Gableman refused to recuse himself or step off the case, and then the court shut down the very investigation into coordination of special interest money and politics, really doing the bidding of the political allies of those on the court.
So you feel that the court today, as it currently is constituted, is a rubber stamp for the governor, for the Republican Party?
That is what it appears to be, and we look at the decisions coming out of the court, and those decisions appear to be driven by partisan politics, protecting political allies, as opposed to applying the law, which is what all of us in Wisconsin should want it to do.
So how would you change that? You've been very critical of the way the court's working right now. How would that work if you were elected to the court?
Well, I've been a judge for almost 10 years. I've heard over 10,000 cases. I'm the only one with that kind of experience bringing to the court. I know how to sit on a case. I know how to hear the facts, to listen, and to apply it to the law, and also look out for everyone's constitutional rights, not trying to reach some end result the way the court has been doing.
I want to ask you about a point of contention in this campaign. Tim Burns has taken I think he would call it an unconventional approach. He's been very outspoken about his positions on issues. You've been critical of that. You don't think that candidates should be taking positions on issues, but there are some who say that you've sort of begun doing that. And I want to read a quote from an interview that you did recently where you were talking about your values. Bear with me, it's a little bit long. You talk about your values. Our public schools, which have been threatened in terms of monies being cut from them. We have wonderful lakes and streams and parks, and now we have to worry about clean air and water. Equal protection under the law is at risk every day, and these are the things that make Wisconsin great, and those are the things I want to protect. But we also need to remember that this is a nonpartisan race, and the judges should not be running with political messages, taking positions on cases before those cases come before the court. You're running a TV ad. The opening scene in the TV ad is a picture of President Trump, where the ad says he has attacked our civil rights and our values. Is that not a political message?
The message right now, what we feel in our country, is this attack on our values. It is not a partisan issue. There are many in our country and many in our state who are very upset by government by tweet, who are upset by the tenor, the way that our values are being attacked every day. It is not a partisan issue, the feeling that we all have about those rights being attacked. I believe that judges should absolutely be able to share our values. I've done that since day one of this campaign, since my very first announcement. The very values you talked about in that quote, equal protection.
That wouldn't be a problem if you had cases coming before you that dealt with school financing or something like that you weighed in on this?
No, I have not taken any positions on issues, and that's the difference between me and my opponents, and especially Mr. Burns. He is running an openly partisan race where he has taken positions on issues. He, if those issues came before him, would have to recuse himself from having taken those positions. I am running a campaign. I'm sharing my values. People need to know those, but they also need to have confidence in a fair and impartial court.
Are we parsing when we say values as opposed to positions on issues? Is there a difference? Does the voter know a difference there?
There's a big difference. There are cases that will come in front of that court, and Mr. Burns is willing to say and do whatever he wants. He doesn't care about the rules. He's in violation of judicial ethical code rules. He's in violation of the need to be nonpartisan, and he doesn't care about that. And he will put himself in a position, or could put himself in a position, where the very issues he's already pre-decided and spoken out against would appear in front of the court. And how is anyone supposed to think, if a case involving Scott Walker came in front of the court, that he's not going to be biased?
I want to give you a chance to respond. You've been hit with criticism from the right, who say that you're soft on crime. They cited a case where a sentence for a sex offender. You've been hit on the left. Tim Burns says you've been racially insensitive in one of your decisions. How do you counter those kinds of criticisms in a campaign of this kind?
Well, what I say to both of my opponents is there's no one who knows what it's like to be a judge, either of my opponents, for 10 years. And it sounds like I'm doing the job of a judge if I'm being hit from the left and hit from the right, because the job of a judge is to weigh each individual case, to look at all the facts, not to parse out little pieces and parts to make them fit your political rhetoric. And I've done that work. I'm the only one that's done that work. I'm recognized across the state for doing that work, and I have the support of over 350 elected officials across the state, over 200 judges supporting me. The ones that know our courts best know that I'm the one that can do this job and do it the best.
I noticed a lot of mentions of Attorney Burns. You haven't talked much about Michael Skrenak. Is there a reason for that?
No, I'm happy to talk about Judge Skrenak as well. Judge Skrenak is running a partisan campaign just as Mr. Burns is. He is running with the hashtag Wisconsin Right. He is running with the Koch brothers support, with the Walker machine support. He has worked for Scott Walker. He has worked for the Republican Party. And there is no doubt that he would absolutely fit into what is happening on that court and be a rubber stamp for the Republican Party and for our governor.
Judge Rebecca Dallet, the Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge, running for Wisconsin Supreme Court. It's good to have you back on the program. Thanks very much.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up next on Up Front, Judge Michael Skrenak, why he says he's the judicial conservative in the race.
The spring primary is February 20th. The general election is April 3rd. If you need help finding your local polling place, registering to vote, or voting absentee, the Wisconsin Elections Commission has information online. Go to myvote.wi.gov.